skills and digital transformation, as well as job creation, particularly for young people who make up the majority of Senegal's population. At the same time, Senegal is redefining its international partnerships with a vision based on mutual respect, fairness, and regional cooperation, notably through its support for the African Continental Free Trade Area. We are truly and greatly honored by your presence among us today, and we sincerely look forward to hearing your perspectives on the opportunities shaping the future of Senegal, the region, and beyond. If I may, I would like to start with the first question, Mr. Prime Minister. Your government, which emerged from a democratic transition that is cited as an example in Africa, has launched the Senegal 2050 vision, supported by a national transformation agenda and set out in the form of a national development strategy. Could you highlight the major components of this new vision and its impact on Senegal's development?
Thank you, Mr. Lamat. First, allow me to thank the Prime Minister of the People's Republic of China for including us in this important event, as well as you, the organizers. I would like to use this platform to share the concerns of Africa and Senegal in particular. You have asked an important question. Senegal has seen the arrival of a new government for a few months now, a little over a year. And since we took office, we have worked under the instruction of President Bassirou Diomaye Diakhar on establishing a new framework for public policies. This framework, called Vision 2050, looks ahead to the next 25 years and is made up, of course, of the overall vision, a 10-year master plan set in the horizon for 2034, and a 5-year plan, which is a national development strategy. The question you're asking relates to this national development strategy, which is structured around 4 fundamental pillars. The first pillar is building a high-performing, resilient economy, obviously by focusing on the development of a number of products organized around value chains, about 20 of them. You will understand that our approach is to increase production within these value chains, but also to work on processing within these chains to have the complete value chain, which naturally leads to an industrialization policy. The second element, which is just as important, is human capital. This is one of the major challenges for Africa and for Senegal as well. Even though we can generally claim to have high-quality human resources, it is clear that there are countries that have managed to develop by relying on human resources, on human capital, without having many natural resources. But I do not know of any country that has developed, even with extremely significant natural resources, without high-quality human capital. And that is why today, one of our objectives in a world that is evolving very rapidly, especially in terms of new technologies, is to focus heavily on human capital and social equity. The third element is territorial reform, which is extremely important and will be structured around urbanization and 8 economic development hubs. And finally, the last element is virtuous governance. Truly, issues of poor governance, corruption, and nepotistic management are often factors that undermine not only African countries but are global phenomena, and they are much more prevalent in countries with very underdeveloped economies. And as long as we haven't managed to overcome these issues, it would be difficult to build solid development. So these are the main areas around which we are building this new program.
Thank you very much. Within this programmatic vision for Senegal's development, there is a national strategy for the development of the private sector, which is part of this vision for Senegal 2050. In this regard, Senegal has comparative advantages in Africa, I would say in general, but also in West Africa. I think the comparative advantages are strong, which make it possible to attract foreign direct investment to your country. To strengthen this achievement, what major reforms do you plan to launch to make Senegal's business environment even more attractive and efficient?
Yes. I believe, as you said, Senegal has quite significant advantages in the West African region first, but also in Africa more generally. I think that the market, that's perhaps why it is the country that attracts the most foreign direct investment in West Africa. And it is ranked among the top 5 African countries that attract the most direct investment. Many advantages, as you mentioned, starting with its privileged position in supply chains. Senegal is the westernmost point in West Africa and is practically just a 7-hour flight from the American continent, the European continent, and the rest of Africa. It's from the American and European continents, and even part of Asia, especially the Gulf countries, as well as the rest of Africa. That's a significant advantage. It's also a country with political stability, one that has never experienced a coup d'etat or a change of power through non-democratic means, where power has always been transferred from one regime to another, democratically, so political stability. It's also a country that enjoys security in an African region that is unfortunately currently plagued by security crises. It's a country with a relatively young population, like all African countries. On average, the population under 35 years old ranges between 65 and 70%. It's a country that is also open to the rest of the continent. These are all advantages. In addition to these physical assets, today a great deal of natural resources have been discovered in Senegal. What I would like to say to investors is investing in Senegal is not a leap into the unknown. There are 2 major advantages on top of those I just mentioned: predictability and transparency. And that's what we offer today. And to support all of this, we already have a fairly stable framework, but we want to improve it. A package of reforms is about to be launched. In fact, we've already started with tax and customs reforms, as well as reforms to the business environment. With the investment code, reform of the investment code is underway, land reform, reforms of various instruments such as the mining code and the petroleum code as well, and the modernization of the administration through digitalization to make procedures much faster. A package of reforms will accompany the Vision 2050 that we have already developed to make the framework even more attractive. I want to tell investors that we are waiting for them. We already have many investors who are showing interest, in addition to those who are already in Senegal. We are waiting for them to come and take part in this work, in this endeavor, which beyond Senegal targets a much larger market. What we want to do with Senegal is make it a hub for West Africa, to reach a market of 400 million people in West Africa, particularly the ECOWAS zone. And I believe that, as you mentioned, we have all the assets needed to offer this to investors, both domestic and especially foreign investors.
Yes, I think all these reforms, as you mentioned earlier, such as virtuous governance, really serve to further strengthen this aspect, which is already an advantage, honestly. As they say, it's already about stability. But there's also the demographic aspect, of course, with the youth ensuring a fairly large market. And the geographic advantage you mentioned earlier, that from Dakar, it takes 7 hours to reach the Middle East, 7 hours to get to Latin America, to the United States. Geographically, you also have a major advantage in that regard. So if you look today with major reform packages ahead, what are the current challenges that your government is actually facing right now in implementing the National Transformation Agenda? What are the main challenges? Because the projects are absolutely huge. It's a significant change. It's something new and different. Where do you feel the challenges come from in putting this into place?
First, I'd like to respond to, you emphasize virtuous governance. It is very important, and I think that for those who have followed our political career and our political struggle, our party, President Bassirou Diomaye, myself, and the entire team, the foundation of our political fight, has precisely been good governance and transparency. Today, we are putting mechanisms in place, first regarding past management, so that everyone who has been in charge can be held accountable for their management in terms of transparency, but also regarding our own responsibility from now on to ensure that these issues do not happen again in Senegal, or if they do, only in a very marginal way. And the question you raised regarding the challenges, the obstacles, the first obstacle is the situation we have inherited. Obviously, when we arrived, President Diomaye Faye asked us to establish a baseline situation, to conduct an audit of public finances, and to audit all aspects of management in general. This exercise revealed a result that, unfortunately, is not very encouraging, since the debt we were supposed to inherit when we took over from the previous administration was around 70%, 74%. And when we finished the audit, the debt was close to 100%. The deficit as well, which had been projected at 4.5 or something percent, exceeded 10% and reached 14%. This is an exercise we carried out voluntarily. And when we did it, we also had the option not to disclose these figures because we knew the consequences. As soon as you reveal these ratios, obviously, it can make partners uneasy, starting with multilateral partners, the International Monetary Fund, but also bilateral partners and the markets. But we made the choice to tell the truth, first and foremost, to our people.
That aligns with your policy of transparency. I think that's really the true foundation of trust, the essential basis for it.
Of trust, exactly.
To regain trust.
Exactly. And we believe that, obviously, the effect this should have, at least in our relations with all our partners, should be a renewed trust, because I'm not sure that if the same exercise were carried out in many other countries, we wouldn't discover even more. And if today Senegal has to suffer the consequences of this exercise in truth, it would discourage other countries from doing the same in the future. But anyway, what I wanted to say is that we have inherited this situation, which is a difficult one, and it requires us to make adjustments, but without moving towards austerity, to continue to free up the economy, to encourage investment. And it's this difficult task that makes it a constant challenge for us. We are currently in discussions for a new program with the International Monetary Fund. Our partners continue to show a great deal of appetite and interest in Senegal. Investments are continuing, but our goal is to speed up the pace because we want Senegal and all of Africa. We hope this for the entire continental move toward a process of accelerated development. As we have seen this phenomenon in Asian countries, for example, China, the Asian tigers, where over a period of 25, 20 or 30 years, substantial progress has been made. The second challenge now is the challenge of ownership by the population. Structural changes are not made by governments alone. A collective dynamic is needed. It is important that the population truly understands, beyond the situation we have inherited, the goals we have set for ourselves, and what we are currently delivering, and that we can have a critical mass of people who support this movement. And the third challenge is implementation. Obviously, our countries have often fallen short at this level. In the past, there has been no shortage of good development plans. But when it comes to implementation, there are always problems. That is why we have set up an entire mechanism for implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of deliverables. First at the Prime Minister's office, which I head as Prime Minister, but also within the ministries. It is a whole process that is currently underway to manage this program with all the necessary rigor, because we believe that in Africa there is no need to reinvent the wheel. What has been done elsewhere and has produced results, if we apply the same rigor, we will achieve the same results in Africa, if not better.